Hi everyone. Last week I went camping in Rocky Mountain National Park and I have another backpacking trip coming up soon. You know, backpacking is such a different experience than a day trip into the park. You know, you get to fall asleep to the sound of a gentle rain on your tent and then awaken to the sound of birds singing good morning to one another. Being back there backpacking allows you to stay deep in the wilderness and access areas of the park that few visitors get to see. And being deep in the mountains, you can spend time just watching wildlife go about their day, just as they have for millennia, undisturbed by traffic or people. Then at the end of the day, you can sit in camp and look up and see innumerable number of stars and the Milky Way stretched out and realize that you're somehow a part of this amazing thing. Backpacking gives you experiences that you can't have any other way. In fact, I don't know if there's any better way to experience Rocky Mountain National Park than on a backpacking trip. So if you're interested in this type of experience in Rocky Mountain National Park, stay tuned and I'll share with you some of the key things you need to know to go backpacking in Rocky Mountain National Park. Hello everyone, I'm Eric Stensland, a nature photographer and author based in Estes Park, Colorado, right on the eastern edge of Rocky Mountain National Park. I've spent the last 20 years here exploring this incredible park, and I use this channel to share tips that will help make your experience the best that it can be. Today I'm talking about backpacking or wilderness camping in Rocky Mountain National Park. This is quite different than simply driving up to a camping spot with your car. Wilderness camping or backpacking involves hiking into nature to a secluded campsite off the grid where there are no roads, no electricity, no running water, just the beauty of nature. Rocky Mountain National Park is actually one of the best places in the country for backpacking. There are about 350 miles of hiking trails and about 260 designated wilderness campsites widely dispersed throughout the park. These designated campsites range from being about 1 mile from the trailhead to about 10 miles from the trailhead. Now, the first thing you need to know is that you can't simply camp wherever you would like. You need to stay in one of these designated wilderness campsites. To stay in one of the wilderness campsites, you must obtain a permit for the nights you wish to stay. These are obtained through the recreation.gov website. Now, over the last years, the demand for these wilderness campsites here at Rocky Mountain National Park have skyrocketed. Permits for these campsites are available starting at 8 a.m. March 1st of each year on the recreation.gov website. But be aware that most of these campsites for the season are booked in that first day or two of March, so try not to miss that window. However, good news for you, some people do have to change their plans and end up canceling their reservation. So it's worth checking out the recreation.gov website occasionally to see if anything is opened up. Alternatively, you can stop by the Rocky Mountain National Park Wilderness Office a day or two before you want to backpack to see if anything is opened up. Speaking of the Wilderness Office, before you can head out on your trip, you're going to need to stop by the Rocky Mountain National Park Wilderness Office near the main visitor center on the east side of the park or inside the visitor center on the west side of the park in order to pick up your permit. They require an in-person meeting with you before you hit the trail. Now at the Wilderness Office, you'll meet with one of Rocky's extremely friendly and very, very helpful wilderness rangers. They're some of the friendliest people I've ever met. They will answer your questions and tell you a little of what you can expect at the campsite that you have reserved. And they'll go over park regulations with you. These rangers know the ins and outs of this park and can often give you some ideas to help make your trip extra special. They see themselves as having the task of helping you fall in love with the park, because it is only when we come to love a place that we'll work to protect it. So take advantage of your time with these folks because they want you to have the best experience of your life. Now, the ranger you meet with is going to give you a piece of paper with a special code on it. And this is going to go on your car's dashboard. This is an overnight parking permit. And when rangers see your car is in the parking lot at night, they can look up that code and check that you have a permit and see when it is you're supposed to return. But because it is a special code, others are not going to be able to find out when you're gone until. Well, another benefit of this paper is that you can show it at the park entrance stations and it will serve as your timed entry permit. Simply show it at the entrance station, and as long as you have a park pass or pay the entrance fee, your entrance will be allowed without any other timed entry permit, allowing you to drive to your designated trailhead. But I should mention that this does not give you a parking space. So arrive early at the trailhead, in fact quite early, to ensure that you have a place to park. You will also be given another piece of paper that must be attached to your backpack before you hit the trail. This paper is your camping permit. It lets park rangers know that you are legally camping. It also has a list of the rules you have agreed to abide by, and it has your signature of agreement at the bottom. Once you get to camp, you're going to need to attach this permit to your tent. Now, generally, each wilderness campsite, except at some of the most popular destinations, is located at least a mile from other wilderness campsites. Each campsite is marked on the main trail with a wooden sign. You're then going to follow a small spur trail well away from the main trail, usually 0.1 to 0.2 miles, and you'll be following little red markers until you arrive at your campsite. These campsites are secluded, giving you some privacy and a chance to fully engage with being in the wilderness. Now, in terms of facilities, don't expect much. Most campsites have nothing more than a stake in the ground with a couple of dirt pads where you can put your tent. What you get, though, is unspoiled wilderness. And one of the things you can always count on is that there is always a stream nearby for filtering water. All right, in terms of toilets out in the backcountry, be aware that only a few of the wilderness campsites have pit toilets. You can check with the wilderness office to find out if the campsite that you're staying at has one. Now, if it doesn't, you're going to need to hike 200 feet or about 70 adult steps away from camp, and the same distance away from any water, any stream, any lake. And then you're going to need to dig a 6-inch hole in the ground to do your business. Now, you must pack your toilet paper out with you because animals will dig it up, and we don't want that strewn all over the place. Now, in a few of the campsites where there is far too much traffic or there is a very high water table, you may be asked to use a wag bag. A wag bag is a special bag to collect your waste and to carry it out with you, and then you'll throw it away in a trash can once you get out of the backcountry. I know it's not a pleasant idea, but sometimes it's necessary. Now, another thing you need to be aware of is that campfires are no longer allowed at wilderness campsites in Rocky Mountain National Park. While we all enjoy a campfire, I know I do, they're no longer safe to have in the backcountry due to the extreme drought conditions we've been facing in the West over the last couple of decades. These days, just a simple spark can quickly create fires on a massive scale. In 2020, we had 2 massive wildfires tear through Rocky Mountain National Park, and we're trying to avoid any further fires like that. Now, each campsite has a silver stake in the ground at the center of the campsite. You're asked to set up your tent as close to that stake as you can, as this helps limit the impact to the surrounding environment. Before you set up your tent, first look around and make sure there are no dead trees that could blow over in a windstorm. You want to stay as near to the stake as you can, but more importantly, ensure that you are camped in a spot that will be safe from falling trees. Now, one of the requirements for wilderness camping is that you must use a bear canister for your food. It must be hard-sided and approved. You are not allowed to tie your food up in a tree. Our bears are far too smart for that. These bear canisters of different sizes can be rented from several stores in Estes Park and also in Grand Lake. If you have any questions, contact the Wilderness Office at Rocky Mountain National Park and they can tell you where to get one. And if you're in doubt of whether yours is approved, contact them and they can let you know. Funny thing is, the approval process for these is they actually are put with live bears who've broken into trash and other things before, and they just let them go at it and find out if the bears can break in. When you're finally ready to leave your campsite, be sure to collect everything. Beyond picking up the trash, please take a look extra carefully, especially for what we call micro trash. And these are the tiny corners of wrappers and twist ties, scraps of food, and anything that was brought in by humans. The cleaner you leave the campsite, the safer the local animals will be, and the better experience it'll be for the people who come after you. You're going to notice most of the campsites at Rocky Mountain National Park are very well taken care of by those who come and stay there. Now, here are a few quick notes about some of the key things to keep in mind when hiking and camping in Rocky Mountain National Park. Avoid leaving food in your vehicle, as bears have been known to break into cars attracted by food and scented items. In fact, just the other day, we had a bear come and it ripped the door off of a car to get in. And sometimes all they're looking for is a bit of chapstick that they've smelled or sunscreen. So what you're going to want to do is a lot of the trailheads are going to have food lockers nearby. And if you have anything smelly at all, stick it in that food locker. It'll be safe until you get back. The food locker storage lockers are provided at places like Wild Basin. Now at camp, keep your bear canister about 200 feet from camp or 70 adult steps. Never leave food unattended or unsecured for wildlife when you go out for a hike or at any time. And never keep food in your tent. You may find yourself in trouble. The bears don't care about you, but they want that food. So be sure to properly display your wilderness permit. Before you head out, read the trailhead bulletin board, because sometimes there are notices about little landslides that have happened or animals in the area or different things. Be aware that falling trees are an ever-present hazard, especially during windy conditions. Remember to be off the summits early in the day in order to avoid thunder and lightning storms. Remember that hunting and recreational use of firearms is prohibited. Firearms must comply with the federal and state laws. I think all of you know this, but pets and vehicles are not permitted in wilderness areas. Be sure and bring insect repellent to fend off those mosquitoes. During spring especially, check frequently for ticks. Be aware that horses and llamas on the trail have the right of way, so step off trail on the downward side and just stand quietly until they've passed. And you all know this, never feed wildlife, as this can be hazardous to them. And lastly, I want to encourage you to prioritize the following. This is important. Take time to slow down. Be sure and stop regularly and really experience the wilderness. Stop. Listen to the sounds around you. See what you can identify. The various birds, the chipmunks, the gurgling stream, the wind in the trees. Notice the smell of the soil, the forest, the flowers. Pay attention to all the life that is happening, not just the big animals, but on the forest floor, all around camp. And let go of everything that's weighing you down from home. All the family issues, the work issues. Set it down and simply enjoy where you are now. If you take these very simple steps, you're going to have an amazing experience and find yourself refreshed by this time away. And truthfully, it could even change your life. Okay, folks, that's all I have for now. Be well, and I'll talk to you again soon. If you would like to learn more about Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website, RockyMountainNationalPark.com. For my books and calendar, visit RockyTrailPress.com. And if you're visiting Estes Park, Colorado, be sure and stop in my gallery, Images of RMNP.